edict or executive order.
And let me speak to the APFO specifically in Queen Anne's County just for a second.
Mm-hmm.
My point of view on that particular piece of legislation and is that is a matter of property rights. Okay, I can name. I know somebody very, very close to me who has lived on, and I don't know how many acres their farm is, but let's say it's 1,000 acres, just for want of a number. They own the farm. They have farmed it for several generations. I think 3 or 4 actually. The grandparents still live on the farm, so they live in a house. The parents live in a house. They have promised the children. The grandparents have promised the children that when they want, they have a parcel on the property. They have a piece of it that they can build on if they ever want. That there's a piece there for them. And the grandchildren, Lindsay and her brothers and sisters, have all been promised, a place to build their house. Well, they can't. If they don't change that APFO, you can only have 5 houses. No matter how big your lot, it doesn't matter how big your farm is. Well, I'm sorry, but particularly in that case, why wouldn't you be able to? I mean, that's the most basic of property rights. If I want to allow my children or my grandchildren to live on my farm where I raised them, I think that's absolutely. We're not talking about 50 acres and 10 houses here. We're talking about, large farms. And, so it was it was just an extreme measure put out by some people who I think it sounded good, but they didn't stop to think about the impact that it would have on farm families. So for me, it's real basic. So that's my piece.
Why was in your opinion, why was the change made to it in 2007?
I don't know, because I was not paying attention at that time to that particular piece of legislation. I would guess we had some liberal-leaning commissioners, and it was part of a no-growth, no-development endeavor put forward by certain individuals in Queen Anne's County, and they had the votes and they got it through.
And the other thing, and the one thing that I don't know that I've ever had an adequate answer, and this is why. The concept of comp plans, or especially with Queen Anne's County, why it perplexes me is that the problem that I see with Queen Anne's County is that the huge increase in residential properties, the residential development, has overstressed the infrastructure, especially without having an attendant increase in the economic development to be able to have a revenue base to be able to build that up.
Which is why I've always pushed for more businesses, more business development, especially along the 50 and 301 corridor.
But if you're reading the comp plan as being something that sort of protects the agricultural base in Queen Anne's County, why was the residential development allowed to come in?
You're assuming that it does. Have you? And I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm asking you, have you read it? Because I have not.
I've read it. At least the reading of what I've come out of it wants to preserve Queen Anne's County as an agricultural, the primary existence.
And yet we have all these regulations to make farming more difficult for farmers.
And but it seems to me if the focus is on agriculture and preserving the land for agricultural uses and preserving open spaces, then why are you allowing an increase in residential development?
Well,
which is that's
to me that APFO as written didn't make any sense. Okay, it's not about subdivisions. That's not what that was about. Okay, that was about keeping farmers from being able to build houses on their farms. Mm-hmm. And you know what? If the Smiths want to put 5 houses in addition to the one they've got on their farm, and they've got a large family farm, you know what? They paid for it. They paid that mortgage. They have their business there. If that's what they want to do, then they should be able to do it. Now, should they be able to build a nuclear waste facility there? No. But we're talking about family homes. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about 100 acres. I mean, 100 acres and 20 houses, or 100 acres and 500 houses. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. That AFPO needed to go, and it did.
I mean, it's just the way that I see it, and we have to take a break, is that you've already allowed the commercial development to come in. The only way that you can solve that problem, I mean, not the residential development to come in, the only way that you could solve that problem is to essentially deport all the people that have moved in and send them away and say they can't live here anymore.
Right.
That's the only way that you can fix the problem, and that's not a solution.
Well,
you
I
can't
think
do
O'Malley
that.
would love that.
You can't do that.
I think O'Malley and the environmentalists would love to get rid of people. That's my theory.
But
personally,
it's just a bit. If you have this attitude, if you have the mindset that you're keeping out development, how did all the residential development come in? And now that it's here, you have to deal with it, and that's kind of the bottom line. You have to deal with what you have.
Right.
Well, it's interesting. You get the people who come in, they move in, and they bring their attitude from the Western Shore, wherever they came in, a nice urban area, to get out in the country. And the first thing, when the wind changes direction, they're upset that the farm is so close to them, or the tractor is slowing down their traffic. And so the very things they come out to get away from, they start trying to create those very problems here. And so I think it's interesting that there is this conflict in the people who are coming out here. You want to move out here. You want to bring out your commercial, you want to bring out the homes and buy a nice home and have a nice piece of property and be able to travel over and go there. But you don't want the things that brought you here in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid moving from the town that I was born in. When my dad's job changed, we moved into a new subdivision that was built on farmland, and the existing farmland was still there, and boy, could you smell the manure in the summertime, in the spring and in the summer. But we didn't complain about it because
nature's perfume.
They were there. I mean, they were there.
You moved to the country. You better learn to like it.
Yeah, the farm was there first. We didn't. We didn't complain about it.
It's funny because I hear this from my dad a lot. If you're going to move here and then you're going to miss where you came from, don't try to change here to be like there. If you miss it, go back there. But you moved here because of the character of the place. And I understand that, but I also understand that particularly in Queen Anne's County, where I live, we're growing. And you know what? If you don't want to tax the citizens, then you better allow, and the citizens had better get behind some business growth. And the way to do that is to take a look around and see where sensible places are. You certainly don't want a 7-Eleven in the middle of a subdivision, or a JCPenney built in the middle of a subdivision. But there was a project that was supposed to go in across from the outlets, and it was an industrial center where they were going to put a government building. It was a really, really fabulous project, but we couldn't have that.
You know what's interesting? You ever been to Houston? They don't have any zoning laws. You're driving down the road and there's this huge farm and it's got Brahma bulls out there. Right next to it's a 30-story bank. You go down the street. Oh yeah, they have no zoning, and it's just, you know what? They exist. They operate. The society does not stop existing. Now maybe it's just that they have more property, but I don't see a real problem with it.
Part of the area in Virginia where I grew up in, you can go down a country road and you've got a ramshackle shack that's sitting next to a big gigantic mansion. And the thing about it is that the person that's in the ramshackle shack goes to the same church that the guy that in the mansion goes to, and so everybody gets along with everybody. It's kind of interesting.
Right, and when something, they might fight over the back fence, but that's what I love about the Eastern Shore. It's very much like that. You might argue with your neighbor over the back fence and who's going to fix it. But you know what? When you're in trouble or when your neighbor's in trouble, they're right there at your doorstep. What can we do? How can we help you?
We do have to take a break. We'll be back and wrap things up. It is Talk at the Town's Delegate Mike Smigiel joining us, along with Andy Maroney. We're the Town, AM 1530, FM 102.3 WCTR.